and welcome back to Intel Extreme Masters World Championship League of Legends semi-finals. Team Solomid and SKT are just finishing up their setup, and we will be introducing the teams on stage in a few minutes' time. Let's start talking a little bit about some of the pick and ban priority as we're getting towards that stage. 6.3 is the patch. Karma's disabled. And we saw quite a lot from these teams. Kalista first pick, Nidalee first pick from SKT on blue side. Yep. Both of their group games, and their blue side again for this first match. Are they going to try target anything specific, or is this just ban out meta?
Well, the good thing about blue side in this meta is you can actually target ban. Because it's okay for you if you have a lot of OPs open, because you can have a first pick. They will take 2 OPs then in the first rotation on red side, and then you have another rotation on blue side where you often end up getting the remaining. So I think they can easily, like, if we say they just purely target ban, go like Alistar, Lee Sin as like 2 bans, and then maybe a LeBlanc ban, and then first pick Nidalee for blank.
Well, we'll find out exactly what the teams decide to do in a moment or two. For now, we're going to head down on stage where Shux is ready to introduce the teams.
Is it? I am on stage now. It is time to meet our teams for our first semi-final and find out who will advance to the grand finals of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. First up, fighting their way back through the losers bracket in the group stage, your defending IEM Katowice Champions, Team Solomid. Next up, 2-time world champions with living legend Faker in the mid lane. It's SK Telecom T1. One more time for our first semi-finalists, TSM and SKT.
Lighting kind of looks...
That's what it looks like, yeah. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in Katowice, Poland. Ladies and gentlemen, game 1 of this best of 3 will be starting very soon.
Did I hear that right? Is Demon in it?
I don't know. I don't believe if he is or isn't.
He always wants attention, you know,
yeah, we'll have to find out.
Slide into our comms just like he slid into my DMs.
Yeah, oh, really?
No.
Well, you shouldn't leave yourself logged into Twitter then. It's your own fault.
That is indeed
Yeah,
true.
exactly. Lock your PCs, folks. So we were talking about Lee Sin and Alistar. Let's talk about segues. Crepo, do you share the sentiment that your co-caster...
I always share the sentiment. Whatever Martin says, I just blindly
That's his
copy.
problem. He just copies what I do.
Yeah, but why?
First Monty, then Martin.
I thought he was Monty. No, Monty's Deficio.
Yeah, he's me.
Okay.
Anyways,
I'm also
yes,
me.
Alistar high prio. We need to take it away from TSM or first pick it. But if you watch LCK, that is something they very often do because teams respect that fact that Kalista is very strong. So they actually end up banning it. And that leaves, generally after all these bans, Alistar open. And Wolves... Yeah, Wolf plays a phenomenal Alistar. He plays a phenomenal Bard. He plays...
But that's why you want to see them ban it, because they want to first pick Kalista. You don't want to give TSM the chance.
If they leave Kalista open, but I don't think there's a way in hell that the TSM is actually going to leave Kalista open.
If Kalista gets banned, and we know both of these AD carries are very good Ezreal players, Double if this is one of his most played, does that go up in priority, or is Lucian still the next in line?
I think for Double if we might see Lucian coming in as the second AD carry for him. But Ezreal is still there, and it just depends on how you want to play. If you don't want to play around your bot lane at all, you can just pick Ezreal and have very safe laning phase. If you want to try and bully out bot lane, you can still take like a Lucian, Thresh combo as an example, or even Bard we've seen from Wolf, and you have a super strong 2v2 you can also put focus on.
But yeah, with that Ezreal, you're on the back foot. You know, you play a passive lane. You then need to rely really hard on synergy between your support and AD carry to kind of help each other get the CS, on their tower to farm, you use IQ to farm, but you're continuously under pressure, and then you also enable Wolf to roam around the map, place wards wherever you want in the early laning phase. And if you look at the match versus like Team Liquid, yes, that is exaggerated by one big mistake though, but TSM right now haven't really shown, for me, proficiency in laning kind of passive. So maybe just give them a stronger two-man lane so they can at least avoid straight up losing that matchup, because Bang and Wolf work really well together in lane.
It's such a big problem when you feel like you want to run a defensive 2v2 because you don't trust in your dual lane to actually win the lane. But you also don't want to run a defensive 2v2 because you lose too much pressure and you enable the enemy support to roam around the map. So I feel like that double if Yellow Star combo compared to Bang and Wolf is just going to be a big liability. I actually think Bjergsen would be okay in mid lane against Faker. It's not like Faker's going to solo kill him. At least I'm not expecting that. I think jungle matchup would be fairly even. And then Hansa has been consistently doing well. If he has a good matchup, he will also be fine.
Break down the Hansa versus Duke matchup up in the top lane. Yesterday, Duke ran Trundle as well as the Fiora. Not something, super out there. It really sparked a lot of discussion around the Trundle. What's your take, first of all, on the players, and then maybe on the champions that we could see from these guys, Crepo?
I mean, I think for pick and bans, it's just important that they maybe at least leave with flex until 5th rotation to decide the top lane. Because I think a top lane counter pick can actually do more damage than a mid lane counter pick in this matchup, and we need to see if TSM actually goes for that.
Especially because of the Trundle you mentioned. So like normally you could say, oh, hey, let's pick Nautilus, fairly safe, he can do well in most lanes, and then Trundle comes in, can be annoying for him. Fiora matchup into Trundle we've seen quite a bit as well now, where Trundle, once he gets QSS, can actually win that 1v1 for quite some time until like full late game where he will lose.
And it was Hansa versus Soaz yesterday, so I think 2 out of 3 of those games where it was a surprise from Origin initially, and then it sort of backfired.
Still think it's a matchup you can take.
There is a difference between Soaz, Hansa, and then Duke.
Yeah.
So that's also something you're going to take into effect.
Still think though that Fiora can come in. If TSM wants to last pick for Bjergsen, let's say LeBlanc is open and he has that as a potential last pick, I think we can see just a blind Fiora for Hansa, and he says, you know what, none of these lanes are like super hard counters unless Duke is going to play Quinn, and that's then the big one for me. If Duke picks up Quinn then, because then suddenly you have a matchup that is in favor of Quinn early, but also a player like Duke who's so fantastic in 1v1s, then I think Hansa will really struggle.
Yeah, but we also need to calculate into the whole equation, like the jungle interaction. Because we've seen any matchup can be won just if the one gang sticks, the level 3, the level 4. If you have a Gragas coming in, maybe they give up the Nidalee on one side, but that obviously doesn't gank that very well. So like an Elise or a Gragas can completely throw away all conventions out of the window when it comes to these 1v1 matchups, because they're like, if this guy gets slightly ahead, then he will play, but if he's 2v1, he will still die. So you see his Svenskeren can be enabled, but can also help enable his teammates. I think that's what TSM needs. like early pressure, early ganks, find an opening somewhere, because man for man, 2v2, 1 for 1, I think they will just lose.
And that's also why I'm looking at, Team Solomate's potential bans on red side. I think Lulu is an absolute must ban versus SKT. They play so well around, Faker picking Lulu, he's most picked champion, this split, and then just buffing up Bang in these late game fights. And if you make one mistake in the game, Bang gets 2 kills and the game is basically over. It happened versus obviously RNG, or QG yesterday. Nidalee is the other one, because I think it's almost too risky to give it over to Blank, because he can then try and shut down Svenskeren in the early game. Yes, he won't be ganking, but he can get into the jungle and shut down Sven. So I wonder if these are the 2 bans. But then again, we know they're most likely going to be first pick, so you might want to trade and be like, okay, we leave Nidalee open, we pick Lee Sin into it, get to level 6 and we're fine. And then we get we get 2 strong picks and then Lee Sin in the next rotation. That can also be like these mind games.
All right, we'll have to see what mind games actually play out. The players on stage are just doing some final tests and making sure that the lobby, the server, the connection, the audio is all fine. We do have a video prepared from the Intel Extreme Masters production team, and we're going to cue that video right now. It's SKT talking about the tournament. It is SK Telecom, as Crepo was saying, sometimes you don't need words. The players themselves. There's the trophy, as you can see, was brought to by Frank earlier from Intel. And that's what these guys are playing for. Defending IEM World Champs TSM, taking on the defending Riot World Champs SKT.
Jesus Christ, Trevor, what are you trying to instigate here? You know, Riot
It's
versus
two world champs.
ESL.
It's two world champs. That's it. Actually, that's an interesting note, that the 4 teams that had qualified from the previous events were all knocked out in the group stages. And the 4 teams that were invited either performed as expected or surprised in Fnatic's case. They were the guys that actually then qualified and made it through to the playoffs. The lobby should be starting very, very soon. So, Crepo, make some predictions about what bans we'll see from both SKT on the blue side and Fnatic on the red side.
Maybe the Alistar, yeah. SKT, it depends. I think the SKT will react to what TSM is banning out, for example. Will TSM get rid of the bar, maybe? TSM, because that's a really hard pick for the 2v2 overall.
Having to ban Bard, though, after one game where Wolf was absolutely insane on the champion is so tough for this pick and ban phase for Team Solo Mid. Lissandra coming in for SKT. Talked about the flex picking option. Not that we see Lissandra top often anymore, but it is obviously a ban aimed more towards Bjergsen as a potential last pick. If Faker wants to play LeBlanc and blind pick it, often teams pick Lissandra into it.
Well, let's find out what they're going to opt into. There's the Kalista, as expected. Alistar is still up. Braum is still up. So you have to imagine that Yellowstar will be happy on one of those with the Fiora taken away. Hauncer's lost the champion, but so has Duke, and there's the Lulu. So no real surprises here, but what does Duke first pick?
Alistar is there. Corki has been another big one for a lot of teams.
Are you surprised by Corki?
It's actually not been that big of a pick for Team Solo Mid before. But
also, is Bjergsen really gonna, yes, they can flex it, but is he really gonna pick that up on first rotation? You would think that Alistar would be a good pick to steal away, but
I mean,
maybe they just want
to take Alistar here.
Yeah, Alistar will need to take Alistar, so obviously SKT knows this. It's not like, oh, really? They play Alistar? So maybe Wolf just wants maybe a range support with some more trading potential to then get the pressure in the lane early.
I mean, again, that's the thing. With this pick and ban phase for me with SKT, they're kind of telling you can go Alistar and Lee Sin here if you want the 2 main comfort picks for Team Solo Mid. And obviously SKT would be prepared for it. And then should have something ready to counter it. Nidalee is open as well, not being banned away. So a lot of these picks that has been very good for these teams in this tournament are actually open.
It's time to go late game, Gangplank. Lock it.
Nautilus, another big one in the meta. And
it's tough decisions for Team Solo Mid, and I think the fact that
picks open.
They love their Ezreal though. They really like their Ezreal, because a lot of teams here will be like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick up the Lucian here on the early rotation, get an aggressive laner. You know, there's not really any counters left, but TSM seems to really be comfortable plinking that Ezreal in the bot lane.
Double F spoke about it. He really likes the pick at the moment.
The problem is, again, if you play against Braum Lucian, that laning phase is so difficult for you to do all that in, other than just sit and farm. And Braum, not surprisingly at all, is a higher priority for SKT than Alistar, because some teams actually feel like Alistar is a little bit overhyped in the sense where Braum in team fights, because he has his own shield and also his AoE, his ulti, he can just be so annoying, and he can honestly shut down your AD carry completely.
It just works a little bit better into these picks, you know. Play out a team fight already in your mind, you know what's coming up. Ezreal ulti, well, boom, blocked by a shield, you know. Dredgeline comes in, you just jump on whoever gets caught, put out a shield, and he will survive too. Braum is just super good defensive peel. Alistar offers a little better engage, but with this composition that SKT seems to run, which is more like poke siege, it's okay for Braum to just, you know, soak up the skill shots and wait for SKT to keep poking over and over.
And I think there's honestly a good chance we just see like a Lucian pick coming in for SKT, and then either Trundle against the Nautilus,
or one poke siege,
or a Quinn if you want to have a super strong early game split pusher as well. We talked about Lee Sin, comfort pick for them. Again, most likely Alistar coming in the end. So they take away LeBlanc because of the Lissandra ban. They don't want Faker to blind pick the LeBlanc and then put Corki AD carry, and then Bjergsen might be like, oh, I have to play Zed. But then we already have Zed, Ezreal, Lee Sin, and that would be like very heavy on physical damage.
TSM falling into the pit of like a pick-on position here though, with not much wave clear overall. If they get a little bit behind, then SKT just get a group on the mid lane, you know, push side lanes, group mid. Bjergsen actually has to stick his head into the wave to clear it, and that's going to be dangerous.
Zed, I mean, Faker can actually play Zed here if he wants to.
Who played it yesterday? It was Febiven into
Febiven against QG played it, but this is what we talked about. Lucian, Trundle. Trundle into Nautilus, you win that 1v1. Okay, pure early game, Nautilus will push you. High base damage, he will push you. get one item under your belt as Trundle, you win that 1v1. You out-sustain him, you steal away his stats in big team fights. Lucian, we mentioned the Braum Lucian lane into what we expect is Alistar and Ezreal, so that's a winning lane more for SKT, and Corki is just so strong still in the laning phase. Is a bit of kill pressure from LeBlanc, but requires a misplay from Faker. So overall, SKT, even though they are giving away comfort picks, getting a very, very solid draft.
And I mean, is this just going to be an Alistair here from TSM using their time, or do you think they're going to pull a surprise and shock everybody?
I mean, considering that they have the support in the last pick, that means they were flexing on Nautilus. Otherwise, I don't see any reason to. I mean.
Oh, Quinn here. Yeah, go Quinn.
Yeah.
Quinn is super good into Trundle.
So flexing the
literally destroy him.
Nautilus.
Put Nautilus support, put Quinn top into Trundle, and you have a super good matchup.
You can see that they're flexing on Nautilus, otherwise they wouldn't have picked the Lee Sin that early, and they would have just maybe get more information if he was 100% going to play that Alistar.
Mark it. Take it.
Hang on.
I really like this pick.
He seems.
I know, he's very
Oh,
eager
I'm not talking
today.
to you, I'm talking to the PC.
Very, very eager today. I hope the crowd has.
This goes
has
to David
much
games
energy.
at the end. I want to see the fishes like, lock it, just lock it in.
Well,
No.
2 seconds down, and it's the bait and switch.
Now
Are you disappointed?
I feel like you just kind of surrender the entire
Game.
early to mid game now. If you had gone Quinn, you have Quinn, Lee Sin, LeBlanc as your top half of the map. Super, super strong triangle you can
The
play.
thing is, the reason I think they don't do it is because the Nautilus Ezreal will have an incredibly hard time laning. I feel, especially because you need good synergy to lane with Nautilus. Because very often when we see Nautilus players in the support role, they kind of overextend once, and Nautilus is deceptively squishy as a support. So and that would also mean that you would then need a lane swap to solve that, and then suddenly you're playing Quinn in a lane swap, and then.
But that's okay in my opinion, because Quinn actually does extremely well in the super long lanes. And
But she doesn't get enough damage to really assassinate somebody. Then I feel I really like
well,
Quinn's.
you take 2 early towers and you always bounce the way for her, and she will get quite a lot of gold from getting early towers.
Well,
I don't know.
Quinn's not in the game. Nautilus is.
So, Team Solomid, honestly,
Predictions, come on.
I feel like they said, let's play it safe for game 1. Don't pick the Quinn, don't try and rely on winning 1v1. I give it to SKT though, I really like that
Yeah,
competition.
they're just trying to scale against the reigning world champions. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
All right, we're going to find out. SKT and TSM, they've locked in their team comps. When you return, we'll kick off game 1.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, the first semi-final about to get underway. SK Telecom T1K versus Team Solo Mid. I'm joined by the Rain Bros. Who else would we have
been a little while.
for the Korean match? So, it has been a while. I was surprised. Did you actually get to keep the outfits, by the way?
No,
No,
forgot to-
unfortunately. No, we had them framed, and they're up like the OGN office for all time.
It's like Hard Rock Cafe style in the side there. But
Someday, we'll find them. We'll track them down.
So let's talk about the pick and ban phase we just saw. We heard the disappointment on the desk, pretty much saying they may well have just lost the game just off that simple pick and ban change.
Well, I think they really nailed it.
I mean, there's
because
other reasons why they might lose the game as well. But.
Yeah, like every other reason. But the pick and ban phase, I think they had a good idea, of course, with that Flex Nautilus, but they kind of backed themselves into a corner at the end because they early picked the Ezreal. I think if they take the Lucian here, then they have much more flexibility at the back end of this draft, but they really have been tunneling. I mean, 4 out of TSM 6 games have been with this Ezreal. We saw Doublelift get a pentakill. In the game, he lost with it, but still impressive stuff. And they just really want to outlast SK Telecom here. I don't know if I think this is the best strategy to go for. Wait until blue build Ezreal hits a power spike in the late game, but apparently that's the one we're going to see.
I mean, if we've seen how SK Telecom has done so far in Korea this year, where they've struggled the most really has been the early game, right? I mean, they constantly have a gold deficit at 15 minutes. So if there's any one team in Korea you probably don't want to go into the late game against, SK Telecom is going to be near the top of that list right now. So yeah, it's extraordinarily risky. I feel like they would have had a big edge with the Quinn, but going a little bit more tanky.
And outside of Korea, there's one team you definitely don't want to face, and it's SK Telecom T1K, because they have been the most successful team in international competition, 2 times world champions. Faker in the middle still, of course, and we already saw him put his fists up. He's ready to fight. He's ready to start. He's going to be up against Bjergsen, the American Faker, I believe, was the tag. Better than Faker. I'm not sure how it went exactly. But,
objectively.
I remember seeing a video somewhere along those lines at one point.
Well, here we are, guys. Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of the day here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. SK Telecom versus TSM. Svenskeren getting a bit aggressive already. Bjergsen's like, hey, man, leave my jungler alone. I don't know what he was doing there, but please don't hurt him.
Bjergsen's a great LeBlanc player. We've seen some really hard carry performances from him on LeBlanc here in Poland so far, so it should be exciting to see him pull out that champion again. Faker's going to take Cleanse just so he has a way to deal with the chains. Of course, there is some kill pressure there. Svenskeren has that mobility to follow up on LeBlanc's ganks in the mid lane if that is going to occur. And Svenskeren has been really favoring the Lee Sin this tournament.
Yeah. And, to me, too, another big question mark, too, is how Blank is going to do in this series. I mean, it's another, okay matchup for him, and he had a really good day yesterday, better than anything we've seen from him in Korea on OGN Champions, but still a big question mark about how this guy's actually going to perform.
Yeah, and the 2 games he played were pretty bloodthirsty affairs. Everyone going aggressive, and speaking of aggression, Bjergsen trying to get an early poke onto Faker, but he's not having any of it. Quick phosphorus bomb to the face. We'll set that one up. This is definitely a mid-lane combo we would like to keep our eyes on, as is this bottom lane. A lot of talk, of course, about Bang & Wolf. Very successful combo coming up against Doublelift and Yellowstar. Very experienced combo, but they really have their work cut out. However, Yellowstar and Alistair, probably his best champion this tournament so far.
Yeah, definitely, and he's been able to, I think, set up a lot of nice initiation so far for TSM, and his Alistair has been a lot of the reason why they were able to win some of these games. Especially when we got super late, and we saw that Alistair ult have a big effect on some of these team fights, able to tank so much damage. Beginning this game, we did see SK Telecom just check for the lane swap right there, make sure that they weren't going to fall behind if they were in fact doing Gromp, or if the lane swap was coming through, that they'd be able to harass if they started weak side. But this puts SKT in an absolutely fantastic position. You want that Trundle into the Nautilus. You definitely want the Lucian Braum into the Ezreal Alistair. And this is where SK Telecom can really start getting a lead by bullying out some of these lanes. It also means that Nidalee is going to have a lot of freedom on this map, not really having to worry about ganking so much or trying to affect these lanes. And we'll see exactly what Blank is going to do. Looks like it will be an early red take here over on the side of SK Telecom.
Yeah, Blank gets in there, steals away the red buff. They saw Svenskeren in the ward down in the bottom jungle, so we knew he was safe to run in there and grab it. But I'm excited about this mid lane. I mean, Bjergsen's been playing really well this weekend. It's a great matchup. Here comes Blank. He's like, my mid lane might need help. Faker getting lower. The Ignite ticking, but it looks like it won't be quite enough to finish him off with Bjergsen getting the early lead. Out of mana, though, so.
Just a little delay from Blank there. He was quite happy to do a little drive-by and head straight for his own buff. Svenskeren himself, I wonder if he's going to be aware that he came in. I mean, he definitely is now because he passed through the mid lane with double buffed setup.
Yep.
Sven having a little peek down the bottom, but nothing coming from it. So Sven will be falling behind in jungle early on to Blank. And Blank has put up a pretty impressive performance. You were talking about his KDA just before we came on air.
Yeah.
It's pretty monstrous for this tournament.
Yeah, he's already at 26 KDA so far. I mean, of course, it's only been 2 games. Those were both wins, so it does have a tendency to inflate. But if we compare that to what he was doing in Korea, it really is night and day, his performance. Interestingly, let's talk about this red buff a little more, because Svenskeren decided to go from Krugs to Raptors and then down into the bottom side of the map. It looks like he may have been waiting for Duke to press up in the matchup top lane, come collect the red buff later, and then attempt a top gank. So interesting pathing from Svenskeren here, but unfortunately with Blank coming into the enemy jungle, it didn't exactly work out to his benefit.
Yeah. You know, another a big milestone potentially for SK Telecom today is that right now they sit 1 win behind Samsung White in terms of overall lifetime wins for this team. And so today it's very possible that this new SK Telecom team that was formed at the beginning of last year will have more career wins than Samsung White.
Yeah, and they've already overshadowed the old SK Telecom K also, so they're rising up the ranks of Korean teams. Obviously, some of the teams that were around for longer, such as Frost and Blaze, do have more wins, but they've made a mark in just a little bit over a year.
They've done it
How do
so
you rate them
fast.
over the years? Like, how do you rate? You've obviously, you guys have cast all these great Korean teams. Who do you feel has been the best, the epitome of League of Legends so far?
I think it was SK Telecom K, but it depends on what happens with this SKT this year, because of course we did see a slump from SKT coming into Season 4. And obviously they didn't make the World Championship, but you're balancing that against an All-Stars win, a World Championship, and a perfect, just a perfect season.
Perfect season, yeah.
Champions. They didn't even lose a game for an entire season, including the playoffs, absolutely everything. So
Yeah. I mean, last year was great for SK Telecom as well. Obviously, the World Championship win. They also total of 6-0'd both finals if you look at spring and summer in Korea.
I mean, if you look at the Season 3 team, literally Najin were the only team to remotely challenge them in the semi-finals. Outside of that, they just breezed through that World Championships at the Staples Center, where it will be returning to this year. So I'm interested to see the contrast between the two. But as it stands, Bjergsen just having a little peek around. Had the better of Faker early on in that little exchange, but you know, obviously the burst damage, you would expect that early on LeBlanc. He's going to be looking to try and make those plays. Faker just waiting to sit and farm, and you can see between them very much even. So far, Svenskeren not being aggressive in lane, not trying to set up. So Haunts has been left alone against Duke. Is this the best way to go about it? Because Trundle's surely just going to slowly outpower him.
That's the big concern here, right? Is that in any kind of team fight situation in a late game, SK Telecom should have a huge advantage. There are only 2 damage dealers on TSM, and their tank isn't going to be worth anything after he gets Trundle ulted. He will be absolutely destroyed by Corki and Lucian. And that means they also don't have an answer to the split pushing threat of Duke either, and that's what we were talking about in this draft. I think the early Ezreal was really the mistake here.
Here we go. Blank coming in for a gank up in top lane, gets ulted immediately as Hanser tries to make his way out. Nice grab onto the wall. There's a flash, but a flash. And an auto from Duke in return will grab SK Telecom first blood.
Pretty simple gank there. Hanser pushed up, and just a lane gank there from Blanket. You have to be very worried about that. The spear did miss as a result of the Trundle pillar coming in, but you're not going to be able to back out very easily on a Nautilus out of that situation. And they had the river warded up. Didn't expect Blank to come right through by the top tier 1 turret.
Yeah, I mean, Hanser did everything he could to get away, but just couldn't quite make it.
That was such a simple gang. It was just a straight up lane gang. There was nothing like brutal, nothing like clever about it. They just got simply caught. That's something you've got to be careful about, especially against a team like SKT, because they won't make those mistakes very often.
Faker, come get your blue buff. Come on, man.
Just eventually.
Come on.
Blank's like, come on.
There you go.
There we go. Just managed to get himself in there early. So, okay, Svenskeren, what are you going to do? Are you going to help out your bottom lane? Are you going to camp out, get double lift going maybe? Because the top lane may well be slipping away from you. You're going to lose that red buff again. It's not spawned yet. A little mistiming from Blank.
Yeah, this is where things are going to start to potentially snowball. So Duke goes back, gets the team out. Remember, he doesn't have to use TP to get back into lane, simply walks up. He will be able now to push this lane very aggressively into the tier 1. And as soon as Faker goes back and get the package, there's a possibility we could see a pretty big dive on the bottom side while they have the TP edge. They've got a lot of options in terms of how they make these plays. If Duke is doing well on the top side, they also just simply don't have to use it and let him slowly just whittle down this tower and take a global gold advantage that way. So really the ball in SK Telecom's court now after that gank. The two summoners pretty crucial for how this matchup could play out in just a few minutes. Looks like we're going to see the first recalls of the game here for the bottom lane. Yellowstar sticking around.
Yep. Manamune picked up by Doublelift. Gonna keep stacking that tier 2 shot. Barrage comes through, prevents the recall from Bang. Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, that's gonna give the TSM bot lane a little bit more time to kind of farm safely without really having to worry about anything.
And what it's going to do is it's going to allow them to push the wave up, which is going to stall out any possible teleport ganks that are coming through. Faker now looking for an angle here on the top side.
Package incoming. Pink Ward spots him, though. That may well cancel the gank. You can see Svenskeren is nearby. Is he going to continue red buff? Bjergsen going looking. He's going to get spotted out by that Pink Ward and doesn't fancy a one-on-one with Faker down the river just yet.
No, you want to stay away from that Corki while he still has the package up. I also don't know where Blank is. Blank is not going to be seen as the till now.
There's the package. Scaring Bjergsen away for the moment anyway. Just trying something a little bit there, but Bjergsen obviously very ready for that one. And I gotta say, one thing that Bengi always did well, as we see Blank come in here, not quite able to claim that red buff, but one thing that Bengi always did well was get Vision in to keep Faker safe, let him be aggressive in lane. And we're seeing that from Blank. I mean, I feel like this is one of the major steps in making Blank work as a jungler for SK Telecom.
I feel like we're slowly watching a bit of a Rocky montage for Blank. This is his training.
That's right.
So we're going to see how he turns up when he gets back to OGN.
Pretty much.
Can he deliver it in the LCK? That's going to be the ultimate test. I'll keep my eyes on that one when you guys get back to Korea. But as it is at the moment, it is very much slow. Standard lanes. This is an interesting thing in itself because we've seen so much lane swapping over the last sort of months or two in every league, in fact. Well, maybe not the Chinese league, but almost every league.
Yeah, and we've seen it really dominate this tournament so far too, just because you can dodge a lot of these unfavorable matchups. But Doublelift and Yellowstar are doing well. I mean, they're keeping up in terms of farm with Bang and Wolf.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any, he's going to be able to stack his tier very nicely. There hasn't been a lot of chip damage dealt to the turret. A big advantage here has been in terms of what Blank has been able to do in the enemy jungle when it comes to just slowly getting a slight farm lead in that jungle position. But otherwise, it's just all scaling here. And TSM, they may like that with Ezreal, but without this LeBlanc getting kills, thing is LeBlanc.
Hello, wow. Blank goes deep, gets pushed right to Bjergsen. Blank might be in trouble here. Bjergsen comes in, gets the kill. Faker on his own. Can he trade? Gets Svenskeren. Now can he get away? I don't know. That's a lot of damage. Doesn't dodge into the bush in time. And Bjergsen with the double kill. Error from Blank, and that costs SKT.
Yeah, he was trying to get in there and ward, but that is exactly what TSM needs to get into this game because Bjergsen has to get fed to have an effect. LeBlanc is a champion that does well win ahead. If you're even or behind, she just doesn't do a whole lot. She doesn't have the items to make that big impact in the late game.
Yeah.
Looked like Yellowstar wanted a little cuddle with Wolf there.
Support buddies.
They kind of followed themselves all the way down the river and just carried on around the tribe. It's like, is he going to carry on going here? But let's check this fight out.
Yeah, Blank
way
here,
too far up.
Yeah, he's trying to play around with this pink ward, and that's just not going to work at this point in time. You have to be very scared of the damage coming out of LeBlanc. And Faker's there, but even though they get there faster.
Yeah, on to Doublelift. Doublelift arcane shift away. We'll see if he can make it out. He's got his flash. He's got a summoner heal. There's the exhaust. Use of Q misses. Bramalt connects, and there's a kill for Blank. Yellowstar still in the mix. Blank taking a bit of damage from the turret. But they're just going to back off and leave the battle cow to it. So SKT responding, grabbing a kill for themselves.
Yeah, it looks like Doublelift just stuck around way too long down that bottom
Also,
turret.
both members of the top lane are dead for some reason.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, we'll have to get a replay of what happened there, too.
Hansa clearly died first, judging by the death timers. Don't exactly know what happened there. Well,
yeah, I guess so.
right.
So here's what happened. Duke all-in'd him, and then he killed him, and then Svenskeren came and killed him in the top lane.
Seems logical.
No replay needed.
Sherlock Christo. Elementary.
But of course, that pressure down this bottom lane does give first dragon of the game goes to SKT. Did a very early dragon the other day, 6 minutes. They went for that dragon. It's seemingly back on their priority list. I mean, I guess if everybody else is leaving it, why
Whoa.
not? Hello.
Faker for the
Bjergsen
wall.
going back on Faker, fancied a bit, and he tries to go for a bit
man.
more one-on-one. We'll get a little bit of help. Haunter comes in, and they do give the kill to Haunter. A 4-man indeed, and that could give them the mid turret.
Yeah, very good collapse right there. SK Telecom not in position to deal with that. Duke had his TP available, but Haunter simply roams into the mid lane. They're going to pick up the objective, and for the first time in this game, TSM's going to have a gold lead.
It's interesting to see because, again, you know, I mean, this is what we see back in Korea. We see SK Telecom behind at 15 minutes all the time. Let's see what happened in the top lane. And I think it's going to be pretty much what Monte Cristo said. There's Yalin, there's Hansard dying, and what do you know? Svenskeren shows up, and Duke's not going to be able to get away from that one.
Pesky Lee Sin just beating on your back there, but
Yep, just kicking you to death in the butt.
it definitely took him a while, but there we go, get there in the end. And speaking of which, Bang and Wolf back down this bottom lane. Now, we were talking about this earlier, Double Lift has actually done all right in this lane. Now, this has worked out pretty well for TSM so far on this Ezreal. He's just slowly stacking that man immune, going to get it built up. And good old Blue Ez is going to get a bit of free time that he needs to get going. Bjergsen and Faker trading quite a lot in the mid lane. We haven't got the sound back on from the game yet, or it is, but it's just incredibly quiet.
Might just be for us, too.
Maybe.
Who knows? Duke gets that pink ward up in Tri-Brush. And so he'll have a little bit less vision to worry about for the enemy team. That's my analysis.
That's very true.
Thank you.
I'm curious what Duke's going to do here. If he's going to go for the Titanic Hydra Iceborne build, I see him to stack up a little bit. Figure actually going to take a turret shot there, and he's going to have to back off. But look at the pressure that he's putting on. There's a ward behind him that Haunter could theoretically teleport to right now if they wanted to make that play. But it would also mean losing that top tier 1. So they don't want to commit to a kill when they're not actually going to get an objective. And I think that's definitely a solid call here. They're not getting itchy trigger fingers to try and continue to kill Faker in this mid lane. And instead, just trying to play defense. But this...
It's got the package.
Yeah, this mid and top tower is just slowly getting chunked out for TSM, and they have to have some sort of response to what Faker is doing here in the mid lane, whether it's Svenskeren trying to get an angle on him just to get the kill with the gank without overcommitting. Duke falls back from the top lane, takes out that pink ward, and that's going to mean that Bjergsen's going to feel even less safe pushing forward. Bang just winning these trades very handily on the bottom side.
Yeah, man, and Bang's solution is really the stuff of legends in a lot of the games we've seen from him over the years. And you got to be worried. I mean, late game, Bang has really hard to carry potential on this champion. Faker, a little bit of trouble, uses the package to escape, just wanted to take out that ward. But he needs to be careful. Bjergsen's got a lot of damage.
Had to use that package to escape, though. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, hello.
Bug splat! Oh, no. Bug splat! There it is!
It strikes. It struck us all.
Before anybody freaks out, this is a spectator client error. It doesn't actually affect the game, guys.
Yeah, the players are still in it. They're still just fine. Don't worry.
Reconnect, and it's all...
We're getting back in there.
We all got it. We all got it. So
we did. I'm glad we all got to share this moment together. It's a beautiful thing, you know?
But you can see decent communication, it would appear, across the board with TSM.
Players don't even notice. Yeah. They don't care about how we feel about that bug splat.
Well, just to keep you guys updated, we're back in the game now.
Yeah.
And everything, no one's died, nothing has really happened.
Everything is fine.
Nothing is broken.
That's right. The system is not down. Well,
it was for a little bit.
It was for a moment.
The system is
back up again. Yep.
We rebooted it.
We'll get back in the game in just a second, guys.
Yeah, Blanket and Faker do take out the mid turret now, so they do even up in terms of turret score. SK Telecom still with a slight lead.
All right. Hey, and there goes mid lane turret just in time to see Faker reaping the benefits of all that pressure throughout the game. Died a couple times for it, but paid off in the end. Shut Barrage does not prevent the recall this time around.
Yeah, really good roam from Haunter, though, in that mid lane to take out Faker and take out the mid lane turret. That opened up a lot of options for TSM, but they're still trying to play a very defensive game here. I guess TSM's game plan is it's just rely on Double Lift in the late game. They have the necessary kills on Bjergsen. He will be a threat, and there are just so many members of SK Telecom for him to target. Blank, Faker, and Bang all going to be quite squishy, and Bjergsen certainly carried some games here in the earlier days of this tournament on this LeBlanc. He's an excellent LeBlanc player, so he's got to make these picks and then have Double Lift clean up the fight. 2 items already for this blue Ezreal, so he's doing quite well.
That's the idea.
1 minute till the Dragon. You can see the team starting to size themselves up, go for a little bit of control, looking towards the red buff area. We do see Blankies trying to come around. We do have Bjergs and Svenskeren. Looks like they're going to get a 4-stack for this bottom turret. So they want to try and get a little bit of turret control, start to bully them away. As I said, 40 seconds on that Dragon. If they can get control, don't forget that mid turrets are both down for both teams. Wards all being placed around the jungle. So TSM have some pretty good vision around here at the moment.
Yeah,
SKT just have to react to it.
Really methodical pressure and shot calling. We talked about in the LCS, when TSM arrived, that they just looked lost a lot of the time when it came to their shot calling. But this time, they know where their advantage is, they know how the pressure's going, and they fade into the bottom side jungle, get the deep wards in, take out the turret. But here's the big issue. Duke, against this Nautilus, he wins the split push. He will also do so much damage in the team fight, and he's already ahead. So what is TSM's plan here? Because they can't really group as 5. The only thing they can do basically is get picks on LeBlanc, or with LeBlanc rather, at this point in time. But if SK Telecom can stay grouped up and prevent that from happening, prevent themselves from getting caught out by this LeBlanc, I think they're going to be in a really good position in either team fights or the split push scenario as this game goes on.
Question is just backed. He's ready to teleport in if he's required for this fight. You can see the Dragon getting started off, but SK Telecom, there's the teleport coming in. They're going to go for it. Svenskeren goes in, but he doesn't win the smite fight. Gets around the side. Wolf getting focused on by Bjergs and won't get caught out. Not a lot of damage coming out from TSM. They're forcing SK Telecom slowly back. Faker trying to get around on side, but they're still pushing on Doublelift.
Yeah, that's right. Doublelift trying to escape out of this one. He was safe early on, but he couldn't quite stick with it. Faker somehow made it out of that 1v4, and SKT's like, yeah, we'd rather have the blue buff. We got what we came for.
Faker just took Bjergsen out of that fight in the backside, just got straight in his face, dealt the necessary damage so that Bjergsen was never even a threat. He's the Fed member. He's the one who had to do the damage. Otherwise, you're looking at a still 20-minute blue build Ezreal here, who's just not going to do a whole hell of a lot right now. So SK Telecom plays the team fight. They take the Dragon. They take the blue buff. They're going to take this mid-tier 2.
Bjergsen coming in to try to get some damage done on the Blank, but narrowly escapes with his life. SKT gets that turret, and actually another one going down in bot lane too. SK Telecom suddenly jumping up to a 4,000 gold lead just in the space of like 30 seconds or something.
You can't fight that if you're TSM. You're already losing the Trundle into Nautilus matchup. Your only hope is to get a pick and to fight late game with this Ezreal. So they go for it right here as we're starting to see in this replay. And watch, Bjergsen comes in, but he chunks out Wolf. Now Faker's just going to valve forward, and Bjergsen is going to get stunned if he stands next to Faker with those auto attacks. So he can no longer be a factor. He's the one with the kills in this game, and Doublelift, the rest of the team tries to go up to deal with Faker, but they can't do very much at all. That's just poor team fight positioning from TSM coming into that on top of a poor decision to even team fight in the first place.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, we're already seeing that Trundle's starting to do a decent amount of damage if you can get in onto the squishy members of TSM. That's getting scarier and scarier.
Yeah, Spirit Visage finished now, and he's working his way up. It's like we are going to see a bit of trading here in the river.
I gotta say the bot lane skin synergy for TSM is lacking a little bit. I mean, we could have Striker Ezreal right there.
I know, the football symmetry could be on point. Well, Bang certainly is. There's going to be a pulverize on towards him. Wolf gets in front, blocks it nicely, and now Yellowstar having to use that ultimate. There's the package delivery, and Doublelift just gets dropped by Faker. Perfect timing. And I was just about to say before all that happens, TSM don't seem to have read what's just happened in the last 30, 40 seconds there. They can't be pushing that mid lane. They were trying to get mid lane dominance again. It's like, you've lost this balance. You're not in the lead in this game. Back away. And SKT just came up and stomped their authority across Doublelift's face.
They also knew that the package had been picked up. It's not like there isn't some sort of global audio cue about that particular event happening in the game. And so when you're trying to play aggressively or try and create that pick, as we saw Yellowstar go in right there, you have to expect that Faker is going to be there instantaneously, and they are punished for it.
Yeah, taking some damage on that inhibitor turret even. Let's watch a replay of that fight.
I mean, they see Faker here before they even go in. Never mind that. Yeah. I catch the beginning of that fight, so they try and go in. Wolf is going to take out a lot of that damage. They're thinking, okay, but it's a 4v4, and I mean, Bjergsen is really the only person who can actually do anything, so it's an easy pick once that he just walks up towards the Raptor pit.
Yellowstar Gonna go aggressive on Wolf here, and that's not the person you're looking for, especially when Duke is coming around the back. He's gonna collect on towards it. Bjergsen tries to go aggressive. That's gonna be on Bang, but manages to miss it. Doesn't quite catch the lead, and now he's committed. He's gonna have to kind of dive for this one. Bang may well get the push, but Bjergsen catches him. But is he going to get out alive? Doublelift's gonna join his fight. He's coming in from just above.
Yeah, that's right. Bjergsen dodging into the Raptor pit, dodges the, well, he doesn't have to dodge that. That's his own team's true shot barrage. Meanwhile, the duel's still happening in the mid lane, Blank backing away. Yeah, Duke scares Bjergsen off, but yeah, that Bjergsen LeBlanc is doing a lot of damage. Bang just had no hope of getting out there.
Yeah, and he forced a flash too, so it gets even better. And that's what they have to do. Bjergsen has to find these kills right now. They have to slow SK Telecom down somehow. Unfortunately, this starts with an engage on the side, and Blank, Duke, and Wolf are able to grab 2 kills before this thing really even gets going. So still an unfavorable trade. Faker is not anywhere close to that. I think you just figured Bang would be okay. If he had actually run through the jungle right there, they may have been able to turn that onto Bjergsen. So Faker, more concerned with pushing the lane. That's definitely a mistake on his behalf. I think perhaps Bang got a little bit overconfident in what he was going to be able to do in that fight. As a result, he's starting to pick up the null magic mantle, getting some MR at this stage. But the QSS, the Mob Malmortius, could definitely be coming in on a lot of these champions.
This is something we were talking about while we were watching the game that TSM had against Chaogu Reapers. Like the aggression that Chaogu were trying to pile on him. It's like, and you were saying, it's like, well, it's good to see SKT can still respond to this, because obviously things have slowed down in Korea, definitely a much slower game, but you know, when the chaos gets thrown at them, they certainly are able to step up their game, and it seems that's what TSM is trying to do. Like you said, they just need to fight. They need to try and find some picks to get themselves back in this game, and well, maybe that was one of those moments where SKT were just slightly caught off guard by the damage that Bjergsen can offer, but this is absolutely going to go SKT's favor unless TSM could try and turn things around. Yellowstar having to pop that ultimate very early on in this fight.
That's right, Yellowstar already really low here. Bjergsen coming in from the side, but he's lost a lot of health too. Blank diving in, Duke in the back lines. He's so hard to kill right now. Knockup comes in onto some of the SKT members. Bjergsen lurking, looking for that kill onto Bang, comes in, doesn't quite get it though. Kills already onto Hanser as Svenskeren goes on the run. Bramalt used just to secure that one. And SK Telecom gonna exit that fight with 2 kills, no deaths. And I feel like this is such a typical SK Telecom game, right? Early game, first 15 minutes, doesn't really matter. They'll go behind a little bit in gold, but then they turn it on at like 20 minutes and it's hard to stop them. They're going for the Baron.
God, and they have every option to do this right now. Even though LeBlanc is still up, they have to be careful about that, but LeBlanc probably isn't even going to get there before this Baron dies, or it will be at the very least extremely close. Nope. Clean Baron take. TSM just not able to arrive in time, and Bjergsen goes in.
It doesn't find the damage though, and now TSM on the run. Bjergsen waiting for those spell cooldowns. Duke over the wall onto Doublelift yet again. Might be able to get him. There's the summoner heal, and Faker with the rocket from the side. Bjergsen on the run now. Doesn't want to fight SK Telecom 1v5. More damage comes in. There's the passive proc. Bjergsen trying to get away. The clone leads him on a merry chase.
Back.
Wow.
Yeah,
good escape from Bjergsen.
Yeah, very good, but it's just not going to be enough. This is going to be an inhibitor going down straight after that Baron, able to drive that advantage straight down the mid lane. And that team fight that we saw starting off there, a couple mechanical misplays from TSM, especially Yellowstar. He actually hit his ult early before the Braum stun even procced. So they were able to catch up to quite a few members, and now that the Aegis of the Legion is done and we're starting to see more magic resist stack up onto SK Telecom, it's harder and harder for Bjergsen to take these kills. So Bjergsen actually did use his ultimate there previously. They see that. That's what causes this engage, is Bang puts the culling down as soon as Bjergsen mimics his distortion. So they know that part of his damage is gone. This is going to be the time to fight. And Duke is just absolutely unkillable in this situation. He is so far ahead in this game. Bang, of course, on the periphery, able to clean this up. He is going to try and get chunked out here, but he dodges out of the way of the W, so it's just a Q that ends up hitting him. And Bjergsen just doesn't have enough damage to go through this entire lineup now that they've gotten a little bit more MR and, of course, the aura item with the Aegis. So after this point, I mean, Yellowstar tries to come around, but it's only him and Doublelift. They burn down the Baron just in time before Bjergsen can actually arrive. Bang here. Do see a distortion, but obviously that damage not doing much. Wolf just gonna block the true shot barrage, and that's pretty much all the damage then done from TSM. And when you run a 2-threat comp like this is the kind of stuff that can happen to you.
And that's Yellowstar's ulti used once again pretty early on. Wolf catching on towards him, forcing that stun. Doublelift now has got the damage. The question is, can he get it delivered in the right place, because SKT with Duke is causing a major problem for them. You said it right at the start. He's a 4-1-4. Nobody can deal with him in that lane anymore.
Nobody can kill him, period.
Right.
He's going Bloodthirster. He needs a Blade of the Ruined King to actually kill Duke here. Meanwhile, Bjergsen certainly can't kill Duke because his burst isn't going to be enough. There is no one who can actually finish off this Trundle. He will kill absolutely everybody.
Wow. Doublelift takes the spear, takes a lot of damage from the culling too. Turret goes down. SK Telecom continuing to push up this bot lane now. And yeah, I mean, we saw TSM decide to go with that Nautilus and the top lane after all, and I think this is pretty much the expected result, isn't it?
Yep. You take a look at that draft phase, and you really think that mistakes were made by TSM. We're going to see some action here, though.
Well, because Sven's going to try and go in. He almost picked off Bang there, but that little kick is not going to be enough. You can see the inhibitors fall in. The Nexus turrets will be next, along with the rest of TSM. They're going to catch Sven Skeren out the side. He thought he'd managed to single out Bang, but instead it was the other way around. Bang led him into his trap. And the Nexus turrets will fall. SK Telecom will take game 1 over Team Solo Mid.
Typical SKT game, I think, from start to finish, as the Nexus falls, and that's game 1 in the books.
And Blank had another strong performance. He started to get that usual Nidalee CS edge.
Yeah.
TSM, they had some moments in the early game. I think they played out that mid gank where they all collapsed especially well, but they just didn't have the tools to deal with SK Telecom's composition. And especially once Duke got ahead early, there was just nothing that was stopping that Trundle.
And the KDA continues for Blank, a 3-1-10 performance, involved in 13 of the 15 kills in that game. Definitely a good performance from Blank in this tournament so far. Obviously, question marks on him coming into this, but he hasn't really been tested yet. I mean, he's played COG, Chaogu Reapers, and now TSM, and so far, he's had that wicked way with them.
Yeah, you know, it really makes me wonder if he's able to keep up this level all the way through the tournament. I really wonder how he's going to do once he gets back to Korea.
The confidence
kind of,
boost.
Yeah, it could be kind of a new start for this guy. It's really cool to see. So with that, guys, we're going to send it back over to the expert desk and have that game broken down a bit more.
Thank you very much, guys. And clinical, I think, from SKT. They went even in standard lanes for 19 or so minutes, won a big dragon fight, and then just snowballed out of control. That pick and ban phase from TSM didn't leave them a lot of wiggle room.
No, we talked about it back in the pick and ban phase, leaving the Nautilus as this flex pick, then not opting into what actually could be a good matchup into Trundle with a Quinn. You kind of tell Hansa, you're going to lose lane. We're not going to help you because we lose the 2v2 against Nidalee and Trundle. So you kind of just do whatever it is you do. And then also the bottom lane, yes, okay, they were even in CS, but there was no pressure early on from Israel Alistar, allowing Blank to do whatever. All of TSM's comp was basically just Bjergsen and Sven Skeren.
Yeah, that's their game plan too. They seem to be back to just camp for Bjergsen to get him ahead with a very passive bot lane. They can self-sustain, clearly maybe lost the confidence into winning by outtrading. And this is kind of the opposite of what we're used to seeing from Doublelift. Back in his Afromu days, they would just pick even lanes like this, but still go aggressive. Because there are windows of opportunity where you can combo aggressively and maybe try to make something happen. But they obviously took a very safe approach in the bot lane. They used the early push that Hanser could produce, obviously while being outscaled, to then roll mid, roll on fake. I think that was a fantastic play overall from Hanser, just freeing himself up in the top lane, going mid. I like what Bjergsen and Sven Skeren bring to the table in terms of synergy, but it wasn't enough. The snowball wasn't big enough to then take down SKT.
And just looking at the overall comp, the first rotation for Team Solo Mid is the one that really hurts, in my opinion, because
Nautilus Ezreal.
Nautilus Ezreal is the first two picks, and I feel like, first of all, they don't really take anything away from SKT, like at all, in your first rotation on red side. Also, when you pick the Nautilus here, in this case, you know there's a counter pick potential in Trundle coming in from SKT, and you still preferably have it on top side. And also, Braum is still there. And Braum, when you play double damage comms, he will single out one of the damage dealers almost every time and just remove him from the fight.
And he can exhaust the other guy.
Exhaust the other guy even. He does super well into Ezreal. Your first pick is Ezreal. You're basically saying, you pick Braum, you have fantastic here into our double 80 or double damage comp and our Ezreal pick. We're also, by the way, going to surrender the 2v2 lane in the bottom side. This rotation, had it been like Lucian Braum or Ezreal Braum, if they even want to play that lane, just take the Braum, I think it could have been a lot better, because then Nautilus could have gone to SKT, but then you could actually have a counter pick for Hanser.
But we do have a replay of one of the dragon fights that really then sealed the deal. You know, nobody really liked the draft from TSM and the options against SKT. Pull that replay up onto your screens. It takes place at around 19 minutes, and it was around the dragon. And of course, TSM, they start to get themselves in trouble. Hopefully we will get that replay up
No,
on
you
your
can just
screen.
narrate it.
There we go. And of course, as we mentioned, it is TSM in the river. Roll the clip out and, you know, just talk me through, first of all, how Faker survives for as long as he does once the engage happens, and then what TSM sort of struggle with, Deficio.
Remember at this point that Israel doesn't have a fully stacked tier yet. So Israel is actually in a point of this game here where he doesn't want to fight. So setting up a dragon where SKT is around is super, super risky, because both top laners can just TP in and join the fight.
And more importantly, look at the position that Svenskeren is in here right now. If you looked at what Spirit did well yesterday, it was flanking, getting that kickoff. Lee Sin coming from the front obviously is not going to help you in these fights.
And also Nautilus TPs in behind his own team, so double flanking is now gone. Your AD carry is weaker, and also Braum passive with Lucian and Corki here is so effective. You see the way SKT plays fight, when they tag the Braum passive on one member, your damage dealers know they can go aggressive because you can shut down one damage dealer by stunning him and then forcing him off the fight. And that's why you don't die as Faker, even though you jump in aggressive, because Bjergsen is out.
They're running like a poke siege composition with a double front line. Like you kind of want to play that in a V forward, you know, the Mighty Ducks flying V. That's the way you want to play if you're SKT. If you get flanked, you expose your weak parts, but then every single member from SKT can just fire away while Wolf either soaks up damage, locks up some Braum passive stacks on whoever walks in first, and then you just melt. You need to get Lee Sin in the side, Hanser in the other side, Bjergsen needs to come from the top. You need to confuse your opponent there, and if you play from the front, SKTs will just murder you in these team fights, and that's what kept on happening.
And it was TSM who set up the dragon fight.
Yeah.
They weren't forced to do it at all. No fully stacked Ezreal, no wards to set up a proper flank. Weird decision. Before that though, I felt like they were very even in the game. The problem was still they wanted to wait till like 25 minutes before actually fighting at all, outside of their Bjergsen, Svenskeren, Lee Sin, LeBlanc combo, which they did use well.
It's kind of a mismatch. I would rather see if they want to go for like the Lee Sin LeBlanc snowball, that they just pick aggressive lanes everywhere and trying to snowball the game, because even LeBlanc with 2 kills against a good team will just run out of damage. Like you take out one guy, but if you play double threat into triple threat, you trade LeBlanc's time to maybe kill one of the threats, but there's still 2 left on the side of SKT.
Give me the dual lane that SKT had in this game on the first rotation from Team Solo Mid. And then you have the LeBlanc Lee Sin as well.
Well, unfortunately, it didn't happen, gentlemen. Team Solo Mid go down 0-1 in the best of 3. Before we head on to the next game and an ad break, we're going to have some words with Chobra.
1 second. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we already started off the final day of League of Legends here in Katowice, here in the Spodek Arena. First game, maybe there was a little bit of hope in the middle. I mean, depends on how you look at it. But guess what? When I was told I'm free today, I'm here. I'm watching it right here with all these people, with all you guys at home. And what we would like to know is how you're watching it. If you're at home, I mean, sadly, you're not next to me. That's a darn shame. But we have some people who are going to be watching. You guys are going to be sending us photos, so use the hashtag IEM. Send us photos. How are you watching it? Are you watching it with your friends? Are you watching it with your family? Are you watching it with your dog, cat, snake, reptiles, what other pets you have? Do let us know, and we'll share some of those photos as we go throughout the day. And of course, we also had a poll, and that's still running. Let us know who you think is going to win. Right now, SKT's a little bit in the lead. And I know they're like 2 times world champions and all that, but we also know everybody is a TSM fan in the whole wide world, because that's just how it works in League of Legends. So let us know, do you think TSM has a chance of coming back in this series? Let us know as we go to a break. We'll come back with game number 2.